Yeah, we're ready.
Sit over here with you?
Yep.
Awesome. Hi everyone, this is Shannon, and we're here at the meetup group for LGBT.
You got this.
I don't know what.
LGBT.
I have the hardest time with that, and I don't know why. It's like I want to say the words.
Not the abbreviations, but the whole.
Yeah, it's like, why do I have to do just some little letters? I want to do the words: gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender. Meetup group here in Houston, Texas. And those that don't know, my name is Shannon
Marco Oliver.
Marco Oliver, and we meet on the fourth Thursday of the month. And you'll have to excuse me because I have several groups that I do facilitate with or talk with, and so wow, there's a lot of energy that just flowed in. That was really cool. So tonight we're gonna do a meditation, and the meditation is gonna be geared towards the ego, and we're gonna let the ego step in, and you get to give the ego something to do. And then we'll go into conversation about the ego. What is the ego? How it works, and how it works in our life, and why does it work versus the soul or the spirit. And it's a great conversation because our daily lives is kind of like a balance of the two, because we have the ego playing, keeping us safe, and then we have the soul going, yeah, let's try it, let's do it. And so we get in that place and we don't know which one. Sometimes it gets confusing who to listen to. It's like the good devil and the angel and the devil on the two sides, and you go, who do you listen to? Which one's right? So we're going to talk about that, and we'll get into more depth about it. And what else are we going to do? And then we'll share kind of some things that are happening here at the center, which kind of goes along with what you guys were talking about, the staring. There's a young man going to be here on Saturday that's part of the technique that he's going to teach about all my relations, and how you relate to people and yourself, and how to love in a very beautiful way. So that'll be on Saturday here, and he's really awesome. I've known him for quite some time. You ready? You want to close that door?
Yep. I'll leave it cracked just in case anybody walks in. We're going to kind of crack the door open.
She's more than welcome to come and sit if she wants. So in meditation, when we do meditation, some people, and this is even a part of ego itself, some people says, oh, we got to go out of our mind, or we got to silence our mind. Our mind has to be silent, but that's ego that says the mind has to be silent. But if you give the ego something to do, and you give it a job, then you let the mind wonder where it needs to go, until it runs out of its, whatever that thought process, the human mind, the monkey mind, goes through, and then you'll go into the silence, but you're actually in what I would want to call the void, and there's still thought processes that are coming, but they're a higher thought process. And they just flow, they just move, they don't get stuck in your brain, they just flow through. And that's why I tell you, don't ask me what I said, later, because it's just the thought process is flowing through. So in this process, or in this meditation, we're going to work with the ego. And a lot of people say, oh, you got to kill the ego off, you got to kill the ego off. Well, the ego will die with itself, but it's not a death. It's actually maturing. And so the ego matures, or the ego becomes enlightened. And that's what happens, is we're wanting our ego to become more conscious and more enlightened. So we have a more expanded experience. So what we do is we give the ego something to do, because the ego really wants to play a part of our lives. It wants to be a part of our lives. And so we're going to give the ego in this experience the job of breathing. Ego's job is to pay attention to the breath, and we're going to do a breath. It's going to count for us, and we're going to breathe out on the count of 5, hold for the count of 5, in on the count of 5, and hold for the count of 5, in and out. And that's all the ego is going to do, and it loves to do it. It's willing and ready to do. And the ego gets in there and it starts paying attention, and you'll hear the ego, because the ego might wander off and get in trying to pay attention to what's going on, and then the ego will say, oh, I'm supposed to come back and pay attention to my breath. That's my job. And the ego will keep paying attention, coming back and paying attention to the breath. And what will happen is you will get some, if you ever heard of when you get in that spiritual state, because you're doing the breath and the ego is doing the breath, and you're giving that, you can go past and you start getting behind that, you really see what's behind there. And you get to sit with it and be with it. And it's not, ego normally has control over our thought process a lot. And it's the one that, and we'll go into more of it. But for this, we're going to go in and pay attention to how many, just the breath. And you're going to tell the ego, I need you to step up and pay attention to my breath. You're going to breathe for me, okay? And the breath to count is breathing in to the count of 5, holding for the count of 5, exhaling for the count of 5, holding, because it's like the breath. There is the periods of the breath. There's a pause, even when their heart has a pause. And you don't even see it, because the breath has it. You don't even realize the breath has a pause in it. Ready? Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, you turn that light off, because I can feel it already. Yes. And I'm like, oh my. Oh, that's much better. That light and me don't like each other. It's that halogen light on it. Oh, artificial. It doesn't feel good at all. So one of the things I'm going to work in.
Need a little ring for it?
Yeah, I thought there was one. I thought I brought it. So the bowls I picked, this one is for the throat. And this one's going to be for the heart. And the throat chakra, for those that don't know, the throat chakra is about will, divine will, how you speak. A lot of times when the kundalini comes up, and it'll get stuck in the throat. And so, because, and we've, throughout our lives, we have not been able to say what we need to say, or we overextend it, and we close our throat because we can't, and so our kundalini energy will get stuck in the throat. So breathing is part of the throat process, and so we want to give the ego something to do, and so we're going to breathe in the throat chakra. This is the heart. The ego, when it's breathing, you can let your heart come in and do the communication for you. It can come in and has its own mind, and it really has that place. That's where we want to bring our consciousness into the heart center. If you know anything about heart math, you can look it up online. It's called heart math. And they say we store so many things in our heart energy. And when we start clearing them, our heart goes back into the right position. If they've taken x-rays of people that have a lot of trauma and things like that, it's stuck in there. So a lot of times they keep us from doing the healing. It's our ego, because the ego said it's going to hurt. Okay. So I want you to take some deep breaths, in and out, in and out. And I want you to close your eyes, because we want to do it inward, because you're going to do inward dialogue with yourself. This is all about you. It's never been about me. It's always about you. And taking those breaths and closing the eyes take you inward. And so you want to ask your ego, ego, come here. Ego, come here. And just breathe in and out. Just relaxing. And feel that connection with your own ego. Just breathe in and out. There's nothing you have to do. Just breathing in and out. This is about you. There's about nobody else in the room. It's always about you. Ego, come here. Be with me. Sit right here with me. You've been with me for so long. And you've been talking to me all this time, wanting something to do, and I want to give you a job. I want to give you a job. For right now. I would love for you to pay attention to my breath. And we're going to breathe in a certain way. And the breath, we're going to breathe in for the count of 5. Nice and slow, breathing in. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to hold 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale nice and slow. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5. Ego, pick it up. In your mind, pick up the count. Tell your ego. Give yourself something to do, and your body's breathing in and out, holding and breathing. Letting all your thoughts, all your other consciousness, it's just going to flow. It's just going to flow. Like you're sitting and watching a movie, but your ego is busy keeping your rhythm of your breath. And that's all it has to do. It is so excited about doing that for you. And your consciousness, your soul consciousness is going to move to your heart center. The ego still focuses on the breath. Your consciousness goes to the heart center. It can do 2 things. You can do 2 things at once. Your ego is going to pay attention to your breath, and your consciousness is going to pay attention to your heart. expressing? What is expressing? Now pay attention to your ego. Your ego has the distractions. Your ego says, "Oh, we gotta do it this way. We gotta be like this." But all you have to do is focus on your breath.